Welcome back to the Castlevania Timeline Revisit, everyone. Where we last left off, we saw the origin of the rivalry between the Belmont and Dracula, as well as the birth of the vampire killer whip. Now let's jump ahead a few hundred years into the mid-15th century. Enjoy the show. After the events of Lament of Innocence, Matthias Cronquist decided to abandon his human name and now goes by Vlad Tepes, and later uses the Crimson Stone to create his own castle, which he calls Castlevania, in the province of Wallachia, and Vlad would recruit humans who either turned their backs against God or were shunned by the light. So we fast forward to around circa, I want to say, 1455. Vlad meets a young woman named Lisa who wishes to help and heal people. After showing her fearlessness against the vampire, Vlad graciously gives Lisa knowledge on how to heal the ill pretty much. Later, Vlad and Lisa would get married, and in 9 months, Lisa would give birth to her and Vlad's half-human, half-vampire, or vampire son, whom they named Adrian Fahrenheit Tepesh. Though, while life was great for Vlad and his family, tragedy would soon rear its ugly head once again. In around circa 1475, let's say, the church caught wind of Lisa healing the ill. Thinking it was witchcraft, the church of Tagoviste sentenced her to be burned at the stake. This will set Vlad on a very, very dark path. One that he will never recover from. Vlad, after hearing this, gives all of Europe a year to make amends. Later, he would start calling himself Dracula, son of the dragon, or in the more modern translations, son of the devil. Before Dracula could begin making his army, Adrian tried stopping his father, which ended in failure. It was then Adrian decided to rename himself to Alucard, a mirror opposite of Dracula. And around this time, the Belmont family were feared throughout Europe, and the church didn't even want their help to begin with. So now we fast forward to 1476, a year later after Lisa's execution. Dracula kept his promise and rained hell, quite literally, upon humanity. Men, women, and even children weren't spared from Dracula's wrath. But now, here we are. The year is 1476, in the event of today's game, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. I hope you all enjoyed me explaining the events of what happened before the main event of the game. But anyways, as I said before, tonight, for the next part of my revisit of the Castlevania timeline, I'll be taking a second look at Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. Dracula's Curse is a 2D side-scrolling action-adventure platforming game developed and published by Konami and was originally released on the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES, in September of 1990. This is actually the game that Castlevania, the Netflix series, is based on. Well, at least the first 2 seasons. I'll get more into that later. But here's the question. Is Dracula's Curse any good? And is it something I can recommend to you? Let's find out. So the plot of Castlevania 3 is quite simple. We take control of the next Belmont in line, that being Trevor C. Belmont, or Ralph as he's called in Japan. Don't ask why. Along Trevor's journey, he will meet 3 allies, Sypho Belnades, Grant the Nasty, and finally Alucard. The 4 of them then storm Castlevania and take down Dracula, ending Castlevania 3. And I would like to go into the aftermath of what happened after Dracula's defeat. Alucard goes into a self-imposed slumber. Dracula may have tried to kill all of humanity, but keep in mind Dracula is still Alucard's father and he still loves him. Grant helps with the reconstruction of Wallachia, and Trevor and Sypho get hitched once peace has been restored. So that was Castlevania 3's story. It's quite a simple one without the extra context before and after the game, but then again, this is an NES game, so I don't expect it to have a very deep story to begin with. But with the story out of the way, let's move on to gameplay. The gameplay of Castlevania 3 at first has us in control of Trevor Belmont, and the name of the game is Jump, Whip, Strut, and Die. The thing that I actually enjoy the most about this game is the partner mechanic, where each of our partners brings something new to the table. Sypha can use different kinds of magic, which, with the perfect timing, she can really dish out pain. Grant can climb up walls, but has a pathetic reach with just a knife, and Alucard can turn into a bat. We also have sub-weapons. If we want to use them, we just press up followed by attack. The sub-weapons use hearts as ammunition. This is probably the biggest hurdle for newcomers of the series, whereas in other games, hearts represent health, but in the world of Castlevania, they represent ammo. Like, in what universe do you expect me to believe that one of the most vital organs of the human body will be used as ammunition for, let's say, a gun? I mean, you're just talking out. Well, shut my face. Alright, time to talk about the elephant in the room. This game is said to be the hardest in the NES Trilogy. I wish I was joking here. For some odd reason, this one particular NES Castlevania game is the hardest. Bombless pits galore, obnoxious enemy damage output, and the goddamn stairs! Yeah, people already bitched and moaned about the stairs in old school Castlevania games, but it's this game in particular where they're their absolute worst! But thankfully, if you have the Castlevania Anniversary Collection on Switch, PS4, Xbox One, or PC, you can play the Japanese version of Castlevania 3 called Akumajo Densetsu. This version of Castlevania 3 is leagues easier with a more balanced enemy damage output, and let's be real here, the music. The game was released for the Famicom Disk System, meaning that Densetsu used a specialized sound chip called VCRVI, which added an extra 2 square waves as well as a sawtooth wave. But in terms of gameplay, play Densetsu. You don't even need the help me cheat that grants you 10 lives. Visually, it's pretty good to be honest. Then again, this was fairly late into the NES's life cycle, so of course it will look pretty good. OST wise, however, I love it, I love it, I love it. Mainly the Japanese OST because of the aforementioned VCRVI sound chip the Famicom uses. Now, let's recap. I think the story as a whole is pretty great, gameplay is challenging and great, visually it's pretty good, and OST is amazing. Here are my final thoughts. Overall, I did enjoy Castlevania 3. The American version may be harder than the original Japanese version, but I still had a swell time. Densetsu, on the other hand, I say play that one over the American one if you can't handle a tough challenge. Overall, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse gets my score of a 9.5 out of 10. Now give Akumajo Densetsu a perfect 10 out of 10. But now, I want to know from you all. Did you play either version of Castlevania 3? Which one do you prefer? And are they games that you could recommend to a friend? Leave your answers and more down in the comments. As always, give this video a like if you enjoyed it. And while you're here, consider subscribing and turn on the bell to be notified whenever I make a new video. As always, my social media links are down below. I've been Hollerkid, and I will see you next time for the conclusion of the era of Trevor Belmont in Castlevania. Curse of Darkness. Till then, take care everybody.